Good evening. It is day 4 of our 5-day kickstart. If you're still here, you are in probably the 1%. So well done on showing up today. If you're coming in, give me a hello. If you're on replay, drop a replay. I'm going to get the questions up as ever. Great questions to go through. Some really good ones in today's task as well. Things for you, as simple as, for some people it's like, I'm going to work out because I feel so much better when I work out, and I love that. And some people it's like, go to bed at a certain time. I've bought a cinema pass, so it's going to help with my dry January. Like all these things that thinking outside the box, things for us that take our mindset away from it. Hey Mal, how you doing? And that are, if I'm honest, probably underrated. I would definitely say underrated. The focus part of the free this, the thing that you do for you that helps with comfort eating. And then, like I said, in terms of talking about psychological eating versus physiological eating and the differences between them as well, and how important that is to consider. Would an apple do? Or if not, are we actually hungry? These are the questions that I always want you to consider sometimes. And I think they're powerful questions. Hey Jill, hey Karen, hey Sue, hey Andrea, how are we doing? How have we found today's task in on here? So let me get these questions up. As ever, if you do have any questions, do comment below with your question and we will make a start. So as ever as well, if you're on replay, drop a replay below. Right. I think we're ready to go. How are we doing, Rebecca? Good evening. Right. Okay, let's get these questions up. And we're ready to go on here. So, question number 1. Helen asks, please can you help with vitamin D supplements? I bought vitamin D3, high strength, 1000 IU, but multivitamin has vitamin D in. As vegan, calciferol, 4 UG. So can I take both? I've been alternating. So to put that in a bit of English for you, vitamin D is measured in either IU, international units, or you might see like a UG. Okay, so the NHS recommends that anyone can take 4,000 IU a day and not be at risk of over consuming. If you've got certain health conditions, higher levels than that might be recommended, but you should probably go get checked out for that. Now, so with that, what I would say, Helen, is if you've only got 1,000 in the high strength and then your multivitamin has 4 UG, if I convert vitamin D, 4 UG to IU, so international units, that's 40, 80, 120, 160. Okay, that's quite a small amount. So that's 160, I believe. Let me just double check that. So you said 4 UG. Yeah, 160 IU, which would mean 1,160 IU of vitamin D a day. Hey Nikki, hey Debbie. So what I would say with that is you can take both, basically, and not run the risk of having too much or worrying about having too much on there. So, yeah, that is absolutely fine. How are we doing, Kim? So I hope that helps on there, Helen. Okay, next question. Let's get that up. If you've got any questions as well, remember to drop them below. So Jane, is eating your main meal at night worse than eating earlier in the day? So, evening, Rebecca. So it might be, it just well might be worse if you're talking black and white, good or bad, etc. However, in terms of what you mean by worse, like we obviously have a circadian rhythm and we are awake in the day and our hormones and everything drives us to be more alert in the day in general. And we get sunlight, which also impacts our hormones, which can make us kind of more awake. And then at night, we tend to have adenosine higher, which is a hormone that just kind of raises throughout the day to make us sleep. We also generally have less light, apart from what we're doing right now, aka technology. Hey Fran, technology obviously stimulates our eyes and can potentially make us blunt, like melatonin production, etc., which can help us sleep. So in general, you've got that going on in the background. The reason that's potentially quite relevant is that when we look at studies and they compare big breakfast eaters to big meals, there's minimal difference when they control for calories normally. There's lots of flaws with those studies, by the way, because it's very, like I said, black and white with it. It's like you either have breakfast or you don't. How do you define breakfast? I could go into that another day. But there might be benefits in terms of blood sugar levels. There might be benefits in terms of, we know that if you go for a walk after a meal, this can impact what we call your postprandial response, your blood sugar spike. So even a walk or standing up after eating can potentially help control your blood sugar response to a meal. So you could argue if you're having a big meal in the evening, you're probably less likely to move a bit, and that could impact your blood sugar levels, etc. Whether you can extrapolate that and say, well, why does that even matter? Well, unless your levels are chronically high, it's probably going to have minimal difference. And if you're like me, and so for me, for example, I am really busy in the day, morning, daytime, and actually planning meals and thinking about meals isn't something I actually really want to do. And I know this is weird that it's coming from someone like who's in nutrition, but actually it suits my lifestyle more, because I eat with my kids in the evening. It means I eat one meal. Tonight we had red lentil pasta, meatballs, really simple, and cheese on top, some veggies on the side. We did asparagus, like literally what was in the fridge really. Asparagus with some peas, did some sweet corn just randomly in the middle, just for variation for them to pick. Then we had yogurt with a little fruit salad for pudding, and that was super filling. Decent calories, but nothing crazy still. And my point in that is it allows me more flexibility to eat with kids and there's the family, and that's psychosocially benefit. So you could argue now, okay, if we're focusing solely on nutrition, we might go, oh yeah, eating late, it's not too good. But yet then we're talking about, but actually the psychosocial benefits of having dinner with your family. And if, like, say, for example, sometimes I eat really late, and sometimes I'll eat with the kids and I'll eat a bit later again, because I haven't eaten all day sometimes. So I might eat like 9 p.m. some nights, 9:30 some nights. But let's look chronically. If we were to look at your results in a year and your calories were the same every day, whether you ate 3 meals, 2 meals, 1 meal, fasted or not, I could pretty much guarantee that there would be minimal, if any, difference. If you cloned yourself and did that, I would say you'd probably see no difference. So then it becomes, what do you find easier to stick to? Does it fit your lifestyle to eat later? Then probably go with that. Because if I went, I don't want to eat too much calories late at night, I'd probably start eating breakfast more. This might be good for some people, but for me, I'm not really hungry in the morning. A coffee just gets me going. I'm busy, so that will get into my routine. I have to stop and eat. And when I eat, I like to sit down and take my time. I've got things to do. I'm quite busy in the day, like I said, and I like to just go and just do stuff and work and play, have fun, go for it. And that's one more thing to me to think about. I'm not saying I fast every day. Sometimes it'll be like something protein based though, whether that's eggs, whether that's omelets, whether that's mackerel, whether that's something, whatever. Sometimes our weekends are a bit different because the schedule's different, but I tend to keep it easy, quick, simple. And then in the evening, I'll have a bigger meal. And in short, ask the question, what makes you eat? What strategy, eating earlier or later, means that you eat more? So let's take your evening meal. Hey, Sue. Hey, Sarah. Hey, Kathleen. Let's take your evening meal. If you were to have that at like 5 p.m., does it mean that you don't snack now in that awkward time in the afternoon and evening? Because I know for sure it probably helps me that we eat generally quite early with the kids, normally. Not unless there's like clubs, stuff like that. We might eat around like 5-ish. And that is actually quite suits me quite well when I eat with them. But then, do you then get hungry later? So there's that question. Then there's the question of, okay, if you eat really late, is it the eating late, or is it that you've just been picking all afternoon because you're eating so late? So then it becomes, again, what makes you eat more or less? And it might be that you plan something in for like 5 o'clock. So you're like, your mind is like, this is what I'm having then, rather than going, don't eat, I've just eaten that. I'll just have an orange. That's healthy. Or and a bit of banana. Oh, and some nuts there. Now I'm prepping food, I've had some cheese. All of a sudden, you've kind of ruined your dinner. You've consumed 600 calories. You might as well have just had a little snack that you planned, you sit down, you enjoyed. And there's a lot to be said for sitting down and enjoying your food and how satisfied you feel. You know, I'll never forget when someone came in and for a session, which was quite a while ago now. They're like, I've had the busiest day. And obviously we're wary when we're training and coaching of how you are when you come in. You know, if you're absolutely shattered, it might tweak how we push you and work with you in that session. And you're like, oh yeah, I've just been traveling all day, I haven't eaten all day. And I was like, you haven't eaten all day? Yeah, I barely drank either. Okay, right, that's important to know. And I was like, what, nothing? They're like, well, I bought a bag of nuts. Oh, all right, cool. What nuts? Dry roasted nuts, just from the corner. And it was like, they'd gone through the packet over the day, and that was actually like about 1,000 calories. But they felt like they hadn't really eaten anything today. And I think that's a really interesting one. The difference you get from mindful eating, aka just eating in front of you without distractions is super important. I think I've gone off on a tangent. What were we even talking about? Evening meals. So in short, both can work. I wouldn't say one is necessarily superior overall when you consider all variables. But what I would say, Jane, is when you consider, I love how Jane said, thank you. Like, that's enough, Matt. It was almost like, that's enough. You've answered the question, Matt. Just, leave it. Yeah, so it really depends what's going to make you eat more or less. And you've also got to consider the psychological aspect, the lifestyle aspect, because that's so key, how consistent you are to it, rather than just, considering what's better for my blood sugar level, which is one tiny brick on a big wall. So that's considered. What is your view on the keto diet? So, the ketogenic diet. So for those that don't know, the actual ketogenic diet is a lot more strict than people will realise. So it's about 80% fat. So 80, 10%, 10-15% protein, 5% carbs. So that's an original ketogenic diet. That's like low carb, like to the nth degree. And very hard to do because that's actually relatively low protein as well. So to get those types of ratios, let's say I was making bolognese tonight. To get that ratio, I'd need to use full fat mince, of course, plus chuck probably some butter in there. Plus I'd need more fat in that bolognese. I'm not talking any pasta lentils here. Like cheese would probably go well with that. Maybe some bacon thrown in. Like it would need to be really edging towards the fat. So butter, cheese, probably mince, full fat mince, butter. Can you see how I'm tweaking this to make it like that 80-15-5 ratio? I'd probably have minimal tomatoes in there as well. Like not as tomatoey as I normally would. And why is this diet out there? Well, originally it was there for to treat symptoms of epilepsy, which seems to have some solid research on. Some of the byproducts of that is low hunger, and that's because your body creates ketones. And you don't have to be on a true ketogenic diet to necessarily benefit from the hunger side of it, because as we know, higher protein diets tend to do this anyway. And the original ketogenic diet is very hard to follow. Then you've got like Atkins, which is like a step down, which is more around that eating higher protein, like I said. And the thing that, there's pros of all of these in that it tends to make people eat more protein. depending on how people count carbohydrates. So some people will count net carbs, and net carbs means you take away the fiber. So if you were eating 20 grams of carbohydrates today, it would be 20 grams of carbohydrates, excluding the carbohydrates you get from fiber. And the reason that's quite good is it prevents you from going, oh, I better not eat too many vegetables. Because we can probably, unless you've got certain medical conditions, IBS, Crohn's, things like that, we could all probably conclude that a diet where you've got to really restrict your, like, even green vegetables is probably a bit alarming. But that's not to say there's elements of it that we can really apply. And you might have ketogenic style days where you're really high protein days. That's kind of what I do in the day, really, when I think about it. And, you know, if we weren't so cut off with our days, you could argue that I'm ketogenic for X amount of hours in the day. And when I say things like, oh, my energy levels are great, my hunger level's great after like 9 a.m. I might be a bit peckish around 8, 9. And if I'm busy, I have a coffee and some sparkling water, whatever, some water in. Before I know it, it's 12 and I'm like, oh, I'm actually right. And I'm just keeping going. And that might be because my body is shifting over there. And there are benefits of that, but it's not the reason it's so potentially successful for people is not anything special other than it helps people essentially lower their calories. And if you think about why, well, you've cut out a third of your plate for one, right, by carbohydrates. So what are you if your carbohydrates are gone, you're left with protein, fat, vegetables. Chances are you're going to eat more veg. Chances are you're going to eat more protein. Yes, you might eat some more fat, but still, there's only so much more you can eat. And your choice is now limited. And we know if you look at taste fatigue, that's a very real thing. If you have taste fatigue, so, you know, if I gave you, they do a study, they always use mac and cheese because it's cheap. But if you're given macaroni and cheese and they say eat as much as you want, you'll eat so much and then you're just fed up of macaroni and cheese, believe it or not. If you then had macaroni and cheese and fries, you'll go back to the macaroni. You might eat some macaroni and cheese, eat some fries, then go back to the macaroni and cheese. The taste variation is almost bypassing one of our hunger, which is taste fatigue, one of our hunger suppressants. So it's interesting there. So you're cutting choice, which you might think is a good thing because it's less choice, but you might think is a bad thing because it's less flexibility. So again, it's about getting that balance right between, are there elements I'm going to take for it? Maybe I follow a ketogenic style diet because it keeps me full up. It's easy to follow. I get to eat some higher fat foods that maybe you haven't eaten a while and I'm still within a calorie deficit. But if I'm eating out, if I've got meals out, etc., I'll be wary of my calories intake because that's the reason it works first and foremost. But I'm okay with going higher carbs because then if you look at some of the drawbacks of the ketogenic diet, like in some of the studies where they've looked at like epilepsy and symptoms, some of the side effects of doing it long term were like lower thyroid output, potentially linked to super low carbohydrates, and so like over long term. So, you know, there's lots of considerations to make there, but in general, like, give it a go if you want to. Like, only by doing will you realize that there's pros and cons to it, and if you can take the pros from it and create your diet, that's going to be the key thing from that. So I hope that one helps. Nikki, I've had a brilliant week, high protein, lower fat, enjoyed all my meals, lost 2 pounds, but tonight, long day, horrible weather, no time, so I had a small steak pie and oven chips. Feel like I've spoiled the week. Didn't even enjoy it as much as the healthy food. Have I blown it? Interesting one. Or have you actually blown it there? What does blown it mean? If you decide that you haven't blown it right now, what do you do next? If you decide right now that you have blown it, what do you do next? What would you say? Because I could probably say that there was probably, if it was a small pie, about 550 calories, I'd say. I think I know which one you mean as well, because they're there's gluten-free ones as well. So I've had a look. So let's say, Nikki, you've had 550 plus, let's say you've had 900 calories in that one meal. What have you had at the other parts of the day? If you decide to stop there and just consider, okay, did I enjoy it? You've said no. Yeah. If I've blown it, I may as well have choc. So you just had 900 calories. So if you had the chocolates now, you could go up to 1,500, 2,000 quite easily. If you stop there and say, I didn't really enjoy it, you know what? It'll probably have very minimal effect. And that's where counting calories can be only chicken soup. So you've probably actually had about 1,300 calories today, max. So have you blown it? That's the beauty of sometimes of checking calories. Sometimes it's not as bad as you think. Like, you could have an avocado and think, I've done great. Or you could have some nuts and think, and that's the thing sometimes. Is it the chocolate that causes the chocolate? Because, with all these calorie comparisons that we do, I can say, look, you've eaten an avocado, it's 200 calories, same as a hot cross bun, 200 calories. And what we forget sometimes is when we eat a hot cross bun, we drop into that mindset of, might as well have another hot cross bun. Whereas when we have an avocado, we rarely go, might as well have another avocado. You could have a Mars bar and it could be the same calories as a handful of nuts quite easily, especially like macadamia and things like that. Super nice, but calorific. And the thing with nuts is you might go, you're probably going to go, oh, I've blown it now. I've had a handful of nuts. Might as well just have X, Y, Z. Whereas with the chocolate, you then go, I've blown it now. Might as well have X, Y, and Z. So sometimes it's does the chocolate cause the chocolate rather than chocolate's bad. So, I hope that helps on that. Sandra, how do you increase your metabolism? So your metabolism is essentially the sum of all reactions in your body. So you can increase your metabolism by walking, breathing, standing up, eating. These all increase your metabolism. This is why it's a little bit of a myth that, we can really increase it. And actually, increasing your metabolism isn't always a good thing, because if you put on weight, you will increase your metabolism because technically you're carrying around more weight. If you lose weight and lose body fat, because you become a smaller person, maybe your organs get smaller as well, everything shrinks a bit, right? Your stomach will shrink a bit, organs shrink a bit, body fat reduces. Because you're carrying around less, technically your metabolic rate will decrease. This is actually a good thing though. If you get fitter, technically your metabolism can potentially slow down, because let's say your stroke volume in your heart, your resting heart rate might reduce because you don't need as many beats to pump blood around your body, because the stroke of your heart is stronger. So rather than boom, 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 got to get that blood around, and the heart's not quite strong enough, now it's like boom, boom, because every thump is slightly stronger. I'm just trying to explain why increasing your metabolism is almost the wrong answer, because technically I'm fitter now, but because I've got less this, I've actually got a slower metabolic rate, which is interesting. There's things like, in terms of more shorter term, if you consume more protein, going on from the keto diet and what we just talked about 20 to 30% of calories that you eat are burned and consumed through digestion and absorption. If you eat carbohydrates and fats, it's around 3 to 5%. So just from a metabolic point of view, eating a higher protein diet will increase your metabolism because it takes more energy to digest and absorb protein than it does carbohydrates and fats. It's almost like having good interest rates. Exercise will increase your metabolism because your body has to recover from that. So there's all those elements there. Putting on muscle will slightly increase your metabolism because you've now got to lug that around with you. So yeah, I hope that helps. Rebecca, toasted bread is a trigger food for me. Yeah, so consider, what does a trigger food mean? Is it that you think you failed with it? Is it because once you've had it, you think you failed? when actually it can definitely play a part in your diet. There's some studies that actually show that diets with and without bread, people who kept bread within it tended to do better. Now, that's not to say everyone will have that. Like, I know what you mean. Like, food variation. Like, I'm not really hungry now, but if you gave me some toast, if someone started making toast in the other room and I can smell it, I might suddenly be a little bit peckish. That's the power of our environment. And it's up to me to go, am I hungry or am I just bored? Am I hungry or am I just, I just like the smell of that. You know what? Let me grab my hot chocolate and have that first. Then wait 20 minutes. If I'm still hungry, I might have it. Like the psychological versus physiological hunger in today's task, where we talk about if the hunger comes on rapidly, it's probably psychological hunger rather than physiological hunger. If it's slowly progressive, it's probably true hunger. So I hope that helps in there, Rebecca. Good questions. Okay. Laura, please can you help understand the difference in whey protein and pea protein? I've been told to avoid whey because it causes bloating. It would only cause bloating potentially if you have a problem with lactose. And in that case, you could, if it does cause, it might cause bloating in a tiny proportion of people. There's barely any lactose in it anyway. But if you were worried about that, you can buy whey protein isolate. Whey protein isolate is basically a more isolated version, hence the name suggests. So it takes out all the lactose out basically. So it's more like pure protein. I would also be wary if someone, pea protein may also cause bloating. There's no like superior because of the fiber in it potentially. But generally, because if you're getting a vegan protein, what I would suggest if I was being optimal and trying to mirror ways, a lot of them do it now, the companies, they do a blend. So it might be like pea protein, soy protein and rice protein put together in a blend. Or just soy protein is generally higher quality anyway. But the blend will create the amino acid profile similar to whey, because whey protein is super high quality in terms of amino acids and the build-up of the protein, which help with muscle and etc. So it is superior generally, but like a vegan blend will pretty much mirror that. So that's fine. I hope that helps. Debbie, halloumi, good or bad? If you're vegetarian, I would say it's definitely a good thing to include in your diet. It's decent protein. Yes, it's quite high in fat, but depending on your overall calories in the day, there's no reason why you can't have that. Like halloumi kebabs, for example, great because you get that salty halloumi hit, but then you've got like mushrooms, peppers, tomatoes, courgettes, all on that kebab with, like in the summer, we're having loads of them. Really good way. I tend to do halloumi, chicken, mushroom, pepper, courgette. Put that on a kebab stick. Takes quite a while to eat. Different taste, but lots of vegetables in there. So there's no reason that can't. Just be wary. Obviously, it's not the leanest. You can get lower fat varieties, which is fine. But again, it's just down to that portion size as well. So if you were looking to use that as a portion control, get good amount of protein in, what you might go is go, right, halloumi kebabs, and I'll do like a free bean salad on the side, so you get some protein from the beans as well. So you're not just reliant on halloumi as your sole protein source, because otherwise then you might by default overconsume on the fat content as well. So that is all the questions tonight. I have had quite a few questions about our 28-day kickstart, which I'll put a link kind of summarising what we do above. And then tomorrow we go through putting together a bit more of a plan. So in terms of the food, the fitness, the focus, and I hope over the week you've seen how when you take the time to do this, the food, the fitness, the focus, you can start to see how things will pattern out into something that you can do on a daily. So it's about every day is day one. What are you going to do for your food habit? What's your fitness habit? What's your focus habit? Whether that's doing the workout, whether it's going for a walk, whether that's bed by a certain time, whether that's meditation, whether that's going to the cinema, as one of you put, whatever that is. Then all of a sudden, they're all coming together. Yeah, we might not be able to control the fitness every day, but guess what? We can keep the stool up by controlling the food and the focus. I'm feeling tired. I'm really low on energy. Let's have a look at your food, fitness, focus. You know what? You haven't done any of your focus for a week. No wonder you're tired and stressed. You haven't looked after you. You haven't done anything for you. You haven't got to bed by 10 once this whole week. And we're looking at the 1% of nutrition. Oh, should I swap seeded bread for brown bread when actually we haven't got to bed by 10 o'clock all week? Then we can start to see visually what we're doing, what we're not doing. So I hope that helps. Remember, move the rocks, not the sand. And we all go from there. So I hope you found that helpful. Let me know if you have any further questions. I'll be back in tomorrow for the last final one. I might even have something stronger than a hot chocolate, which is hit the spot, I must say. Good magnesium as well. So have an awesome evening. Great stuff, Rebecca. Hope you found that helpful. Enjoy your workout in the morning. 6 a.m. we are back with the plan and the workout. Good evening, Sean. Fran, cheers, Melanie. Jill, have a good one. And I'll see you soon. I'm bed by 9:45 tonight. That's what I've set myself. Evening, Sandra. Have a good one, and I'll see you soon. Take care.